Welcome to Let's Talk Learning Disabilities with Laurie Peterson. Laurie spends her days talking about dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and ADHD. She talks to students and adults who have had a lifetime of academic challenges. She's here to share their stories along with other insights with you. So let's talk learning disabilities.
Hey everybody, this is Laurie. Welcome back to Let's Talk Learning Disabilities. Today we are going to hit back on one of my favorite topics, ADHD coaching. And today I have Chris Wang from Shimmer Coaching. And I'm super excited for Chris to share a little bit about what Shimmer is, what they do, and just fill you guys in on all that they have to offer. So Chris, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So do you mind telling everybody just a little bit about you and sort of how Shimmer was born?
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in Canada and an Asian family, and we didn't really talk about mental health or ADHD, neurodevelopmental disorders, definitely not. And I was that typical, I guess the very stereotypical hyperactive ADHD boy that was running around, getting kicked out of class. I got kicked out of ballet class, constantly just causing a ruckus. I was very bored. I was just getting everyone distracted in class all the time. And as I grew older, I was the person who I was actually listening to an episode from you the other day and talking about math, and I was good at math, which actually was the funny thing because I would just inhale textbooks the night before, and I just wouldn't go to classes, got kicked out. And so I had this internalized identity of being a rebel, of being a bad kid, and it wasn't until way later, like it was when I was 28, so a couple of years ago, when I became an entrepreneur and all of the structures within my life that was kind of holding me together, and I couldn't just skate through and just inhale a textbook the night before an exam, that things started falling apart for not just me, but for our team. So not only did I have to make structures for myself, but I had to set up structure for other people as well. And around that time, the few months, I also dropped out of business school. It was around the COVID time where everything was online, which made things really, really difficult for focusing. That was when I got my diagnosis. And so when I got that diagnosis, it was partially really, I say the Asian part in the beginning because it was related to that as well. I had pretty strong stigma and I didn't want to take medication in the beginning. And when I got my diagnosis, they told me, here's Adderall and just come back when you want more or less. We'll check in with you in a month. And I was very surprised by that experience, and that's what sent me kind of down the rabbit hole of looking for an ADHD coach and trying to find one and unsuccessfully going through that entire process and getting stuck at the price point, stuck at the process of it. And that was kind of the genesis of why Shimmer originally started.
And so tell us a little bit about what Shimmer is today.
Yeah, so we're a behavioral support platform. Our flagship product is a one-on-one ADHD coach. And outside of that, there's scaffolding around it. So even if you're not with a coach, you can go to body doubling, there's productivity tools, there's learning journeys. So it's all the behavioral aspects, which includes psychoeducation, includes the coaching that is required to build up those skills and to be able to achieve a higher quality of life with ADHD. But it's structured in a way, and I'm after 3 years, it didn't start like this, so I can get into that if you want, but now it's structured in a way where you can step up and down those things, so it meets you where you're at, depending on where you are in your journey, what things you're looking at, how much time you're looking to give into the process, and how fast you want to see results. So it's in short, a one-on-one coaching experience inside a behavioral support platform and community of other ADHDers as well. And so it originally started just as a cost thing, honestly. When I started Shimmer, I just really wanted a coach, and I wanted a coach that was affordable. And so I got our first two coaches. One of the coaches started coaching me, and just as I was going through that process, I met so many other people who were also looking for a coach. So I started matching them up with other members as well, and it kind of just organically grew from there.
Okay, so what's body doubling?
Oh, yes. So body doubling is a fancy ADHD word for co-working. So you basically are in the same space as other people. For Shimmer, it's other people with ADHD, and you are working on your own thing. So I generally will do the hairiest tasks of the day. I will do that really annoying logistical item that's been swimming around at that top of your sticky note. And because you're with other people, just the pure presence of them, you don't just walk away and do something else. So we will declare our priorities in the beginning, and then we will all get, and everyone always says this, like, I got more done today in this hour than I got done all of last week. And you generally get the like most annoying thing out of the way as well. So it's super effective. And that's not the only way you can do body doubling as well. If you're just if you just call a friend and you just put them on the sink and you do your dishes and they talk to you and you say, don't get off the phone with me until I'm done my dishes. And maybe they can do their laundry as well. It's also very effective. It doesn't have to be in a facilitated space.
I love that. So do you feel like, I think I've recognized that one of the things that a lot of our clients struggle with is finding somebody. I always feel like with coaching, you have to find somebody that you sort of click with, right? It's hard to work with someone that you don't feel like gets you or is sort of in your same place or understands where you're at. And so when you're assigning a coach or when you're placing coaches, what's that process look like for a new client?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and it's one that we've thought about a lot. So it's not just clicking. I think when you first find a coach, or look for a coach, you don't even know what to look for. You don't know what a good quality coach is, what credentials are. You don't even know the categories of things to look for. Like, do I need to like this coach? What does it mean to click? How do I know what questions to ask in that first conversation to know that? What methodologies are they using? Do I care about specific identity aspects that I want to match up, or maybe I don't want to match up? Some people don't want someone that's the same identity for whatever reason. And so all of these things we have put together into kind of like an intake flow. It's online, and you basically answer a series of questions that goes from everything from identity-based things, like do you want someone that matches your specific cultural upbringing, to more stylistic things. So do you want someone who's more tough love or someone who's more celebratory and encouraging? And those are things that there is no right or wrong answer. Everyone just has a different experience and has different preferences. And you can put I don't know for some of them. And then when you get to the end of that quiz, we also really believe in the importance of choice and autonomy. So you'll get 2 to 3 recommended coaches based on what you shared, and then you can look through their profile, because sometimes we find that you find stuff in their profile that you didn't even realize that you would resonate or that would be important, that maybe didn't make it to one of the big categories that everyone cares about, but it might be something that you care about. Might be that they grew up in the same hometown as you, or maybe they're into a specific hobby that you spent all of your time thinking about. So all those little things, you can be able to then take one last choice at the end, and then you get matched with them through that, and then you can basically start right away. So it took away a lot of the confusion and just stress of when I looked for a coach. I actually did over 12 consultations, and I had no clue what I was looking for. And by the time I got to the end, I would forget the people that I talked to in the beginning, and it was just impossible to be able to evaluate all at once. And the other thing for Shimmer coaches as well is, because we have over 60 coaches, if for whatever reason, after 2-3 weeks, you find that there isn't a good fit and you realize, oh, actually, this thing is really important to me, you can be able to switch coaches just by going through a shorter version of the flow afterwards, or by jumping on with someone on our team, because sometimes you just don't know what you're going to like or not like until you try it.
I totally agree. I think whenever we talk to people, and I love that you have 60 or over 60 coaches, because whenever we talk to clients, I always want to give them a couple of names to start with. I don't want to overwhelm them with 12, but try to give them 3 at least, because you don't know until you get on and you meet with them and you're like, oh yeah, I think I kind of like this person, or gosh, I don't feel like this is flowing, and sometimes it does take more than one session.
Yeah, definitely.
How would you describe the difference between coaching and therapy?
Yeah, so completely different things that you're working on. There are some topics that may be overlapping, but if I were to oversimplify it, therapy is generally a little bit more backwards looking. So you're looking at things that happened in your past, making sense of it, and seeing it how it applies to who you are today, and a lot of processing that is happening. Versus coaching is more or less a bit more forward looking, where you're less so trying to unpack why a thing is a certain way, but more so what you want to implement in your life to be able to achieve some forward-looking goal. So it could be very, very tactical, like even to the point where you're looking at your sharing screen and looking at your calendar with your coach and trying to figure out what sort of sequencing is going to work best for you, and then doing that experimentation process and coming back next week and looking at that again and reflecting on what worked and what didn't work. So it's more forward-looking and more action-oriented to be able to achieve certain goals. But there are certain topics that touch on emotions or a little bit heavier that could be overlapped between therapy and coaching. So with my coach, we talk about when we get into relationships, communication around relationships, around confidence, those things. Sometimes there are some overlapping topics, but where we decide to go with that and what the takeaway with it is generally is very different.
Do you ever work with like partners? Like a partner of an ADHD, whether they have ADHD or not, just helping them better support their partner?
Yeah, we get asked for that a lot. So TBD on if we do that in the future, but right now we're very focused on the individual. The only time we work with someone else is with our teen coaching. The parents are in the loop, but with our adult coaching, right now we have been focusing on the individual, but that might change in the future. Let's see.
I get asked that a lot. Like, is there something for my spouse or my partner because they have to live with me, right? And I sometimes think that's good to have a little bit of collaboration. But I agree, the focus really needs to be. And I think it's good to teach the ADHD client how best to communicate their needs.
Exactly. Yeah. So instead of them being like, hey, my coach, come hear my coach say this thing, which a lot of the time is what they're looking for, we can help guide them through how do you think this conversation would land best with your partner? What sort of supports or tools or communication skills do you think you need to get in order to get there? Do we want to practice those things together? So really giving them the autonomy and them the ownership to be able to guide that so that they have that tool for the rest of their life.
Does someone have to have an ADHD diagnosis to benefit from coaching?
No, definitely not. So the way that I think about ADHD coaching is it largely is three things. It's life coaching, it's executive functioning skills or coaching, and it's psychoeducation about ADHD. So if you don't have a diagnosis or you don't think you have ADHD, the first two things will still be relevant for you. If you just don't have a diagnosis, but you think you have ADHD or you're self-diagnosed, then the third one will also be useful to you. So it really just comes down to what you and your coach decide to do together. And that really just depends on the person. So you don't have to have a diagnosis because we're not a healthcare service, and it's not. It is FSA, HSA eligible, but it's not technically a healthcare service. We don't need a diagnosis to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Because I do have I know we see especially a lot of college students who just are struggling in getting their organization, but they may not necessarily have ADHD, but they really would benefit from just some more of that executive function coaching piece.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say our coaching is structured for ADHD and executive function challenges. We actually do have ADHD specialized coaches as well. So for folks who are autistic with ADHD. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. That's the nice thing. I know we talked a little bit about it before, but just having many coaches, it's just that matching and being able to switch between, and also just I think the experience that I had when I was doing coaching consultations was most coaches, they were essentially just pitching me on why they were the best coach for me, but I didn't know how to evaluate it the other way around. And so with Shimmer too, like if you don't prefer to go through the online quiz, you can do a free consultation as well. If you just don't know the answer to those things, then one of us will be able to help out and say, okay, well, you don't know what sort of style you want. Have you had a therapist before? Have you had a teacher that you really liked before? Like, what did you like about them? And try to help draw those answers out of them.
I love that. As far as your coaches go, I mean, they're all obviously trained, certified coaches. Is there ongoing training that you guys provide for them as they stay with you longer?
Yeah, definitely. So the way we think about who our quote unquote customers are actually not just members, but also our coaches. So a lot of the things that we build in terms of processes, training, the product itself, the technology behind it is for our coaches. So we actually only take 3.7% of qualified coaches who apply. So there's a really rigorous process. It's a 4-step process that our coaching psychologist has designed that they have to go through to be able to work at Shimmer. And then once they're there, the ones who get to the end of it, and I do the final round interview. I personally interview every single one of our coaches, and by the time that they get through, we know that they're super committed to learning. There's a very strong reason why they are an ADHD coach, and they're really great at their craft, and we want to invest in those folks. So we have ongoing training. We have weekly roundtables where they discuss different things that are coming up, anonymized from their clients, and we have monthly trainings, and then we also have the Slack where they're generally sharing resources with each other.
Nice.
If something pops up, if someone's looking for a budgeting app, or like one of someone's clients had a budgeting app that they really loved, the coaches love to share those little things as well, not just the big things, with each other. And a big reason why a lot of coaches want to work at Shimmer is because ever since they finished their coaching training, they feel like that community from their training experience that they really liked, and that problem-solving community, they didn't have that anymore. So we try our best to be able to facilitate that same community and learning experience so that they can continue to be better and better ADHD coaches.
So we talk a lot about coaching, and I'm a huge proponent of ADHD coaching. When I talk to clients and we talk about their next steps, and that we talk about coaching, I have a lot of people that it scares a little bit, because what they're thinking is, especially if they're older and they've had a lifetime of these struggles, here's one more person I'm going to let down. Here's one more person that's going to tell me what to do, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So I try to explain to them that coaching is not someone telling you what to do. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the theory of coaching, but sort of what it looks like. And it's not tutoring.
Yeah.
And it's not therapy. But how would you describe coaching to somebody who is kind of scared of it?
Yeah, so it's actually one of the biggest misconceptions around coaching. I think people come in and a lot of them want to be told what to do, or they just want tips and tricks. And it often takes us a little bit of time to gently reel people back from that misconception. But coaching it's a collaborative partnership between you and a coach. And they are basically an expert in ADHD, and they're expert in this process around growth, this process around change. But you are the expert in your life. You are the expert in what has worked and hasn't worked for you. And ultimately, you are going to be the one who either implements or doesn't implement these things in your life. So if they're telling you what to do, that doesn't actually help, because the moment that they remove themselves from the situation, you're not going to do it anymore. So it really is this collaborative process where you each have a role to be able to play in it. So view yourselves as two people who are working together to problem solve, to try to make things in your life better. And so on a very high level, it's not just problem solving as well. So on a very high level, you're basically, when you come into Shimmer, you are first setting goals or a vision. So helping you look forward into the future, which that in itself can be such a healing process. A lot of us just haven't really looked far beyond and haven't really thought about what our values are, what our strengths are, where we want to go, what a fulfilling life would look like. And really, depending on where you're coming at, some people are ready to have a bigger version of that conversation. Some people are ready to have a smaller version of the conversation. The coach will be able to adapt that. And so once you've looked forward, and let's say you look 3 months ahead and you're working towards a specific set of goals, then your coach will be working with you to essentially figure out what you need to do differently, or what you need to add or remove from your life to be able to move you every single week that you go to the session closer and closer to that goal. So that could look like things like building skills, but it also could look like changing external things in your life. So systems in your life, communication with other people, maybe advocating for yourself for other things outside of you to change as well. Because I think that is also a big misconception, that people think coming to coaching means you're going to have to fix all these things about yourself. And it really isn't about that. It's about working with your entire environment. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much of it is externally focused and might not really require you to change anything. It might just require you to ask for something.
it's also very collaborative. You guys are
Yeah.
working, I mean, you're working with the coach and you guys are, there's no, it's not punitive in the way, like if you come back the next week and you talked about trying something and you didn't, or it didn't, okay, well then why? And the goal is to figure out, well, then that clearly wasn't the way to go. Let's reroute. And I think people are so concerned about, that feeling like a failure, because they've struggled, they've tried these things. I mean, I'm a planner wannabe, and I've had to finally give up on the planners. But that feeling of failure and letting it beat you down instead of just being accepting of it and being like, okay, that system didn't work, but let's figure out what will.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the times, well, myself included. So when I first started coaching, I remember it's actually funny because I don't even remember what the thing was, but I remember coming to my coach and saying, this doesn't work for me. And my coach said, okay, well, it's actually very common that something didn't work, not because the thing doesn't work, but because it wasn't implemented with behavioral science in mind, with habit formation science in mind. And then she spent a moment explaining all of this to me because she knows that I'm the type of person who I just need to understand. I was like, I just need to understand the science behind something and then I'll be able to make sense of it. So she explained the different psychological tools that you can use to make habits stick. And then she asked me if I wanted to try implementing some of those things with that thing that I thought wouldn't work. And over the course of the next few weeks, we started to ritualize some of the things, put in some more joy, think about contingencies, all these things that I just didn't think about before. And then I remember what it was now. It was some version of time blocking. And it did end up working. And I hadn't thought about all of these extra pieces that were around it. So that was one example where it was a mix of kind of experimentation and also the validation around psychoeducation that really helped change me for something that I probably wouldn't have tried again because I was like, that doesn't work for me.
So what you're saying is I could potentially be a planner person.
Maybe, yeah.
There's still hope for me yet?
Yes.
I love the way they look. It just makes me feel good. It's keeping up with it. That's my problem. Anyway, no need to coach here. Okay. So my really last thing I want to go over is you had talked a little bit about pricing because we do get a lot of pushback about when people will call back and be like, okay, I can't afford that. What is another option for me? Talk to me about the pricing structure with Shimmer.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was the first big problem that we were solving. I saw the price points after I did all the consultation calls. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I understand why they're like that. Like I had spoken after I discovered that I spoke to a lot of coaches to try to understand why the price structure was put that way. And I discovered it was because most coaches spend over 50% of their time doing marketing, social media, a lot of logistics. And so their prices reflect that, which they should because they need to make enough money. And so that was originally what we were trying to do is, we're like, well, if we handled all of those things and we just had clients and matched you with the best fit clients, and they're probably even better clients because they're fit specifically to you instead of just anyone who reached out, would that be able to drive the cost down by half? And the answer was yes. So that was kind of the process that we took, like bit by bit, finding things that were not only tedious for coaches to do, but they actually just hated doing it and removing those things, doing it for them, and then slowly automating it. So what that yielded is now for 30 minutes a week, it's $230 a month for a member, which comes out to about $57 a week. And if you would like to, you can also the community membership. So usually we recommend starting with coaching for at least 3 months so that you're in the groove of things. And then once you're kind of like in maintenance mode, if you would like to step down, you can also step down to the community tier, which is, I believe right now, $140 a year. So you're paying $11 a month-ish to access multiple daily body doubling sessions. There's learning journeys. There's productivity tools. There's a community as well. The goal really is to make this as accessible as possible. We believe that ADHD coaching should be available to anyone who wants it, not just those who can pay really, really high price tags. And it's also HSA, FSA eligible, so that allows you to save another like 30 to 40%.
That's awesome. And what age groups do you focus on?
So our Shimmer adult program is anyone over 18. And so we have members up to 90 something. It really just runs the gamut because we also have coaches who specialize in different age groups and different specialties as well. So it really is, again, just a matching thing. And then we have a Shimmer for Teens program, which is 13 to 17-year-olds. And their parents will, if they choose to be a closer part of that journey, then there's also a platform for the parents where they can access certain resources and access their coach as well.
When you set it up for a teen, do you do the consultation with the teen or the parent?
So there isn't a consultation, but there's a meet and greet. There's a meet and greet that is a little bit more logistical, where the parent and the teen are both invited. Sometimes just the teen comes, and that's also okay. It just sometimes depends on the age group or just the level of autonomy that the teen has.
So sorry. How much input does the teen have in the initial process where they go through and answer all the questions and talk about the kind of person they want to work with? How much input how much of that is the parent filling out and completing, and how much are you wanting the teen to complete?
So that is completed by the teen. The parent first fills out a form where they are allowed to give their input, but it is just input. The ultimate choice becomes the teen's. If the teen doesn't choose the coach, we have found that it becomes like a demand avoidance thing where my parent gave me this person. I don't really want to meet with them. So they do the intake. If there's anything that we have to know and the parents feel really strongly about, we'll take that into consideration. But it ultimately is the choice of the teen. And even with the goals, the parents can voice certain goals. Like, for example, if the parent says, okay, this would be success if the teen's floor is clean, and then the teen comes and says, hey, I actually just want to make friends, then the coach will say, hey, look, like your mom really wants you to do this. Like, what do you want to do with that information? So they're communicating that and giving the agency to the teen. And if the teen says, I don't want to do that, then that's the teen's choice.
And then last question. How many clients do you have that come and sign up and get started, but then maybe realize they're not ready? Does that ever happen? Like they're just struggling. They're maybe just not at a place where this is that even a thing? Like, or can you get them ready?
It 100% is. So a small amount of our clients will not really know the difference between therapy and coaching and not really know what coaching readiness looks like. And there are questions within the intake flow, but sometimes people sneak by, sometimes it's just a good day and they answer the questions differently. And that is, our coaches are trained to be able to catch those situations, and essentially depending on what the situation looks like, without getting into all the nuances, but basically they will guide the client through the process of potentially looking for a therapist or potentially talking to people in their life to get the right support system. And then in those situations, we would have the conversation with that client. And then if it is, the choice is made that we separate, then the refund or whatever it is. So really just making it a non-judgmental space to be able to navigate that, because it's very confusing. There's all these words like therapist, coach, like different modalities. And when you're just diagnosed, it's so easy to just end up in the wrong spot, because unfortunately the space is still just really fragmented and the information is really fragmented. And so we try our best to, even if it's not us that is to help the person, to be able to help, even if it's sometimes we end up referring to another coaching platform or another type of coach. It really is just helping people get to the right support that they need.
I love that. I do. Okay, so if people are interested in Shimmer, what's the best way for them to find you?
So our website is shimmer.care, www.shimmer.care, and there you can find we're very transparent about pricing, about how things work. You can see screenshots of our app in there as well. So you can just look through there and you can look at both the membership side of things or the coaching side of things if you're interested. Can
you do the membership without the coaching?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the $11 a month one.
Oh, okay. I feel like I should have done a disclaimer at the beginning that they may want to put this on like a slower speed to listen to, because you talk as fast as me and that doesn't ever happen. I love it. Like, I'm keeping up really well, but I'm thinking other people will be like, whoa.
Yeah, so, I'm a fast talker. My mind goes faster than my mouth. Sometimes my mouth is trying to catch up to what my brain is saying.
I totally get it. I totally get it. So I've met my match. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. I appreciate it. This is great information. I'm very excited to share it with our listeners. I'm super excited to share it with our clients because I think it's going to be such a good fit for so many of the individuals that we see, especially with the price point. And I love the way you sort of individualize it and meet them where they're at. So I appreciate you being here today.
No, totally. I can also make you a code for your clients as well. So if you want to choose the name,
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just make it DLS for Diagnostic Learning Services. Just DLS.
Okay. We'll make it
okay.
DLS 2025. I think it needs to be a little bit longer, but let's do that.
Perfect. It's just easy to remember.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
thank you for having
That's
me.
awesome.
This was tons of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys. If you guys have any questions for Chris or want to get more information, we'll make sure that the link to the website is in the show notes. If you have any questions for me or suggestions for future episodes, don't hesitate to email me at letstalklearningdisabilities@gmail.com. Hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you back here next time. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. In our show notes, you can find information about today's talk, as well as links to resources and other episodes. If you have questions about today's talk, have ideas for future episodes, or just want to stay connected, you can contact us through Diagnostic Learning Services on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So, let's keep talking learning disabilities. This podcast is sponsored by eDiagnostic Learning. You can find more information at www.ediagnosticlearning.com.